When we actually read the script, I was like, oh, this is going to be hard.
So the way balances the...
One of the inspirations from Guillaume was Qianpo in Mulan. I'm in the subway, I'm reading those next lines. I just stopped reading, I started to tear up when I did the mocap for Verso. What matters is not what Verso says, what matters is what Verso doesn't say. I think we spent 30 minutes on just that line because Guillaume was like, that's not Verso, again.
This episode contains spoiler for Clair Obscur Expedition 33. If you haven't played the game, play and finish it first before watching or listening to this episode. I don't know how much music you have heard, but I've seen you in the behind-the-scenes footages of some of the songs. I don't know if you were a part of it. Did you actually provide vocals for some of the songs?
Well, no, I did not, but I'm also directing the BTS for the game, and they had a 3-day session of the recording of the orchestra, and I was there, and we'll probably talk about it later, but I played Gustave and Verso as a motion capture and performance capture actor as well. So at some point, we were actually in another room filming interviews of Alice Duport-Bercier and Lorient, the composer of the music, came. It was like, all right, the next song is Lumière. We want everybody, and it would be nice to have Gustave there as well. So you're gonna go there with the actual singers. Make sure you don't, because it was recorded. They were recording the voices. So he was like, well, if you want to sing, make sure that you sing well, and if you're not sure, just pretend to sing. And it happened like this. You know, they gave me a flower. And that was it. We were part of the clip. So no, I was not part of the soundtrack, but I was so humbled and also grateful to just be part of that special moment.
The gommage scene that everybody just cries for all the time. And you posted the video, the behind the scenes and the original video, which got 1.2 million views on Instagram, which is crazy. Did you ever think that scene would get this kind of attention?
When I first embarked on the journey, it was as Gustave, and that was it. It was supposed to be it, just as Gustave, as motion capture and performance capture as well. And we shot the entire script in chronological order, but Lumière was not ready yet. So we started right when the expedition. You know what happens to the expedition at the beginning? Right. It's not pretty. So actually, one of the very first scenes that I did was when Gustave wakes up. That was for me the beginning of the journey, and then everything from that point was we followed the story, and also we discovered the story all along. We only had 30 or 40 pages, and then for the next session, they would send us the 40 next pages. We had to learn the lines, etc., etc. And so Lumière, we got to do that. I think it was 3 or 4 months after we started shooting. But Guillaume told us about that scene, about how it started, because obviously we needed to know what was going on before acting. And when he told me about the relationship with Gustave and Sophie, I immediately connected, and I couldn't wait to read that scene, especially the first one when she's talking to other people and Gustave comes and like, well, can we talk? And to me, that story, that little story, it's just one part of this big adventure, seeing the love of your life, knowing that both wanted to be together, and just because of the rules of this world, couldn't be together for whatever reason. And on the day of her gommage, he comes back, and he's the last person. I was devastated. I talked a lot about this scene with Estelle, Estelle Darnaud, who plays Sophie. And we couldn't wait for that scene. And when he told us about the gommage and we actually read the script, I was like, oh, this is going to be hard. This is going to be really hard because we are going to have to go through all those emotions.
Do you remember that was the biggest challenge that you had to face when you were shooting that particular scene?
Well, you got to keep in mind that we were wearing helmets with an iPhone, and it was something like that. So she had the same, so we couldn't kiss.
Yes.
I've seen a lot of comments, but that's why they didn't kiss.
Yeah.
To address that, it was the vision of Guillaume. He wanted to, what I liked about that scene is that you want them to hug, you want them to kiss, you want them to hold on to each other, and the fact that there is this, they love each other, they respect each other, but it's been years since they were together, and it's almost, to me, it's even more powerful to see them, wanting them to come on, save her, hug her, do something, and he can't. There's something that can be done. She's gonna disappear, and so it was hard because we couldn't get too close to each other, and it was also hard because for the first part of the scene, we just have to walk towards. It was a small stage, and we had to walk until the end of the stage, and they showed us a point, and he told us this is the paintress. So you have nothing. You have to imagine everything, and what Estelle imagines and what I'm projecting in my head are two completely different things, and I cannot look at her, and I can only feel her, and we are holding hands, and at some point I feel that she starts to hold my hand, and it gets, and I don't know, like I knew, and she's an amazing actress. She's one of the best performers I had to work with, so I knew something was going on, and I couldn't look at her, and I was just like, all right, like this is happening, and there's nothing you can do, and just all the emotions that you feel, just let it go, let the emotion take over, and at some point I have to turn around and I have to look at her, and man, her eyes, like I would never ever take credit for what I did in that scene. All I did was react to what she gave me. She's so talented. I could see everything in her eyes, the distress, the love, and we have only two lines, I say, I'm here, and she says, I know. And if I remember well, it was only one, I know. And she added another one, and the second one just, and I was trying so hard. I wanted to cry because that was a lot. And I kept on thinking, I don't think Sophie would have had wanted to see Gustave fall apart. Like,
Yeah.
So I kept on telling myself, you need to hold it. And she's experiencing the very last moment of her life. She wants to know that you're going to be okay, that like,
Right.
be strong for her, because she's so, she goes away with so much dignity, and she just closes her eyes, and everything was so for me the hardest part was not to cry, and also the whole choreography, because it was a challenge, right? And the scene can be too long either, because at first I think the first take it was 5 or 6 minutes, and
Oh wow.
he was like, all right, we cannot, because we took our time, right?
Yeah.
What helped is that Guillaume played us Lorient's music from the final cutscene, so we had everything that I told you plus the music, and those.
Yeah,
it was perfect.
One of the roles that you did, obviously, the biggest one is Esquie, as voiced him, and you had an interesting story how you got the role of Esquie, which is really cool. Can you share that? Like, what exactly happened that you got that role eventually?
Right. So when we were shooting the mocap, Esquie, we mocapped Esquie for a few scenes, but most of the time we didn't really do the mocap with Esquie because obviously
he's big, yeah.
Yeah. When my other fellow actresses were playing together and Esquie was part of the scene, someone had to give the other actors Esquie's lines. And when Guillaume would ask who wants to do it, I would always be like, me, because the way I learn my lines is that I record everybody else's lines and I leave blanks when it's my turn to speak. So I can, when I'm on my own, I can play with myself. I don't know if that's
makes sense. Yeah, I understand completely.
Yeah, it came out wrong.
I know, but it's okay.
But yeah, you understood, right?
Yeah.
So, and when I would do that, when it was Esquie, I would be like, oh yeah, bonjour, mes amis. I don't know, I would just have fun with it. So whenever Esquie needed to be part of one scene, I would ask to do it. I would really have fun. And so after the whole process, it was a 1 year process of mocap. I thought the adventure was over, and I think it was a few months after we were done shooting, Guillaume called me and told me, well, we would like you to be Esquier. Would you be interested? And to me, it was, wow, like the adventure continues and I can be that character. And he told me, obviously, we're not going to go like, oh, yeah, yeah. We need to find his voice. We need to find what makes him special because obviously Esquier, you've got his voice, but you get the post process. You know, my voice has been slowed down and pitched down. You get the screenwriting as well. So it's all those elements that make Esquier, right? And he told me we at first he said we want you to be Esquier, but we need to try some things first. So I sent them a lot of samples. I recorded myself. It took us a bit of time. Raphaël Joffre was also a big part of that process. He was working on all the audio of the game. And one of the inspirations from Guillaume was Qianpo in Mulan, the Disney cartoon.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. And Qianpo he's always like, yeah, that's very nice. Something like that. And in my mind, I kind of Baymax from Big Hero 6 was also something that I had in mind. So I told Guillaume, would you see Esqui's voice in between those two characters? And he said, yeah, let's try it. And we tried, and that was kind of the right, a bit of Qianpo, a bit of Baymax, and also, I don't know, I guess also me sometimes going with my guts. And so, that's how we found his voice. And then, of course, Theo, he is the guy that did the whole post process on the voice. They spent a lot of time on it because, as you may know, Esquie is full of something. I don't know if I can say it. It's a spoiler, but he is. So it's also something that impacted the effects on his voice to have kind of this bouncy. It was interesting.
A lot of the lines that people always come by with Esquie, and I love personally one line, which is, I'm too woo, but I'm also wee. And it's such a cool line.
Balances the woo. Yeah.
Like, did you ever think that lines like this, especially that line, would be so kind of, people are clipping it, sharing it everywhere?
Never. And to be honest, I would never imagine that Esquie would touch people that way. I mean, for me, and I talked also with a lot of people from the team, and we all loved Esquie, and but it was surprising to see how people connected with him and how quickly he became kind of a mascot. People want plushes of him. I received messages of people they tattooed themselves with Esquie. It's crazy. So no, honestly, I mean, how can you imagine? Even like first the game being so popular and like you said, 3.3 million copies sold in 33 days, and Esquie being part of this whole madness around the game, like you said, people clipping him, and all those lines that for me was. And props to Jennifer, the screenwriter. She's the dialogues are peak. They're so good. When you've got a script like this, and so like Guillaume and Jen, they're the two. They were in charge of the story. When you've got material like this, all you got to do is just feel, and it's crazy. And I want to say, I was not ready for it because my Instagram account was pretty small. I think I had something like 800 followers. And all of a sudden in few days, I started to receive hundreds of messages people telling me how the game affected them and how Esquie played a big part in that feeling, that journey, and people sharing very personal story, their story, and telling me how the relationship between François and Esquier, their dynamic, they could see themselves. Like, yeah, it's been overwhelming, but in a good way, because I wanted to respond to everybody, and I appreciate people taking the time, to just say hi and say, well, I love what you guys did. It's yeah, and yeah, no, Esquier, honestly, it's I'm so grateful because even the French version, I was only supposed
Mm,
to do the English version. And when
yeah.
they went with the French one, when I'm French, and they said, well, would you like to be French Esquire too? And I was like, every time I thought it was over, I would be like, again, well, cool. Yeah,
Okay.
let's go.
Do you have like, I don't know if it would be probably hard to pick, but do you have a favorite to pick or a few favorites of yours?
Well, I had one before the game launched. It
Mm.
was ready to sail like a snail. It was something like this, which don't ask me why. I like that line.
That's lovely.
But now, because obviously I didn't play the game before, I didn't see all the interactions with the characters, but now like I'm watching a lot of videos, reaction videos as well of Esquier, and if you would ask me now, of course the wee woo conversation, but I also like the whole story with with François.
Mm,
And
yeah.
stop being a meanie. They're nice humans, or François, you got smashed. And also, it's hard because I know that the French version and the English one are different, and
Yeah.
I'm trying to memorize also the French one because it's not the same. For example, in
Right.
French, he doesn't say oui, who. He say
Oh,
ouais, boo, which is kind of similar, but
yeah.
yeah. Every time that they, when you come back to camp and you can have all those
Yep.
moments with all the characters, I feel like all the streams that I've watched and the people that I watch playing, they always like, oh, let's go talk to Esquier.
Yeah.
He's always comforting, and he's always gonna give you this moment, right?
Yeah. There's one of the scenes that SK had with kind of Verso later on is like where he was talking about like, oh, he feels warm and fuzzy when CL is around. Like, what do you think is that kind of relationship in some ways, like between these two characters?
Yeah, and if I remember well, he also tells Verso, "You warm and fuzzy when
Yeah.
you look at her too," right? uh,
So good.
well, it's for me. I always try to be very literal with everything. The way I was treating Esquier, the way I was delivering the lines, I didn't want to play. There's a lot of times where you want to play the subtext, and you have to. Verso, for example, when I did the mocap for Verso, what matters is not what Verso says. What matters is what Verso doesn't say, because there's so many things going on. And with Esquie, I felt like it was the opposite, because, like I said, he's literal about it, everything. He thinks about something, he's gonna say it. He feels something, he's gonna tell you, and he keeps certain secrets, but at some point, if you talk to him the right way, like Ciel does, well, he's gonna say it, right? But because he's a child, he understands everything that's going on, but at the end of the day, he's so truthful to yeah. For me, that was just the thing I kept in mind, was like, whatever you feel, say it. Whatever you read, just say it. Don't play anything else, because it won't work, right?
And like I mentioned earlier, like he calls Francois as front run and Monaco as Momo. And I earlier tell like my friend calls you Swim Swim. If SKA had to call something to you, what do you think he would call you?
That's a good one. That's a good one. Because, well, Max, I don't know.
Yeah.
Mama wouldn't feel right. Mama is not
Yeah.
right at all. I would say Max. Yeah,
Yeah, maybe.
yeah, that's the only way. Or
Oh man, that would be, yeah, I mean, interesting. I mean, like Mama would be also kind of good because you gave the voice kind of like more to him. I don't know, maybe, but
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
yeah.
Well, yeah.
We're gonna jump into some spoiler territory, of course. So if anybody has not played it, do not go for this. But one of the spoiler things that I want to talk about, obviously, it's Act One ending, and it's Gustave's demise. What was going on at the time when you got to know that this is happening? Because this is the first character you're playing, mocapping.
Right.
You have done this first. So what was going on at the time when you got to know, and then when you got to shoot that scene?
I I was devastated. I like I told you, we would shoot for 2 or 3 days, and then we had 3 weeks to learn the next batch of dialogues, and so I remember it was, yeah, probably 2 or 3 months right after this gommage scene. That was kind of the end, and we shot the last part of Act One, and I received the text. I'm in the subway in France, and I'm reading, because that's the thing. When we received the next part of the story, it was kind of a Netflix show for us. Like we were like, because we didn't know what would happen to our characters, and I didn't know what would happen to Gustave, and it was sold to me as Gustave being the main character, which obviously he's not. Maël is the main character of the story, and but you didn't know that. I didn't know that, and also as the player, when he embarks on the journey, you think Gustave is the one that will carry the expedition and the story, and so when I'm in the subway, I'm reading those next lines, and I actually get to the point where he dies. I remember I just stopped reading. I started to tear up, and like I felt so sad. And I remember people looking at me like, "Are you okay, man?" I'm like, "No, I'm not okay."
You do have no
And
idea.
yeah, and so I immediately called my. I was working with two other actresses, Charlotte Hopfner, she does Maëlle, and Estelle Darnaud, I told you about. She plays Sophie, Lune, Ciel, Aline, name it.
Everything.
That's her.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I remember we created a WhatsApp group where we
Mm.
talk about everything. And actually, the WhatsApp group is called "When One Falls, We Stay Together."
Oh wow, that's so
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. Well,
Wow.
because when one falls, we continue is kind of depressing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So yeah, and I remember, and I think it was Charlotte. She took a picture of her arm or her leg with the goosebumps. It's like, well,
Mm.
that's what happened when I read the scene, and I was sad because I really connected with Gustave. I told Guillaume when I got the part, I was like, this is the character I was dreaming to play. He has everything I love about a character. He is, he knows that they're doomed. No expedition has ever come back from the continent, and he steals. Like, even if Emma tells him that it's hopeless, they shouldn't do it. He should stay, and they should do something for Lumiere. And even though he knows that it's hopeless, he's gonna do it. And I like this. I like everything. Like Sophie dying right before he leaves. He carries all those, seeing his entire team die in front of him, and still going out there wanting to rescue Maël and defeat the paintress, break the cycle. That was so, like, I really connected with him, and all the traumas that he had. When he has the he has an anxiety pick at the beginning, and everything. So when he's gonna die, we go back to shoot the scene. And also for me, I think it's the end of the journey because, well, I got cast as Gustave, and my fellow actresses, they will go on for, I don't know how long, until the end. It was only Act One, and I was like, well, just, you know, just do it. It's been a blessing, an honor for me to portray Gustave. And after you're gonna have to let him go. Charlie Cox will voice him, and that's it. Like it was perfect. And we played that scene. It was horrible. Actually, there is I think it was an improv right after they defeat one of the Nevrons, and Esquier, they give I think it was Flory. They give Flory
Yeah.
to Esquier. Esquier goes in the water. Oh, jump, mes amis! It's not that
Yeah.
high. And then you got only Maëlle and Gustave facing the monolith. And she says, "Do you want to throw one more rock?" And Guillaume told us, "I want time because Renoir is going to arrive. I want to have enough material, enough time to um, build something." So we had to. It was an improv. That one. Like I say, it's not the. So that was fun because we had to find something with the connection between Maëlle and Gustave. And then whatever it happens, and I cry, we cry, we all cry. And I think it's over. I thank my fellow actresses, go back home, and I think it was a week later on my birthday, Guillaume calls me and he's like, "Well, we would like to thank you first for what you did with Gustave, and if you're okay, we would love to see you as Verso as well." And I was like, "We want to as Verso? What do you mean? Like Verso?" Like, "Yeah, Verso." So, and I was, I was like, "Yeah, cool." Back in the game. And but no, this whole Gustave scene, I think we shot that scene. I don't think I would lie if I would say between 5 and 10 times. We did so many iteration of that scene because at first it was completely different, but it didn't work. So until the very, very last day, I think, because like I said, it was a 1 year process, and we had one day of retakes, and that's when we shot the final version of the scene. So until the end, and it was a running joke with Guillaume and the team, was like, "Well, you really like killing Gustave, don't you?" And he's like, "Yeah, I do." I was like, "Yeah, but
Oh
I
my
don't."
God. But yeah, of course. You need to get it right, but he dies every time. Yeah.
Yeah, all the time. And so that was funny because each time we would have to reshoot that scene, I was like, "Oh, I get to be Gustave just a little longer."
Oh
And
yeah.
yeah,
Wow.
just a little
Just
longer.
What were your opinions initially? Because you didn't know Verso would be you. Like, what was your initial kind of idea of how Verso is? Because now you have to change your mindset to get all the good stuff with Verso and keep that in.
Yeah, I think it was the hardest part to embody Verso, to find physically Verso, because Gustave, basically it was me. I mean, it was me. It was I didn't really have to do anything in terms of physicality. I would just be myself. I mean, be myself. I'm talking really, I'm not in the acting. I'm just talking about the body, right? The way Gustave walks is the way I walk. The way Gustave looks at people. I have a lot of way to move my mouth and my eyebrows, and so that's mostly me. But obviously, I would now be a complete different character, and I had to change. I had to change the way I would look at people, the way I would, walk, and like I had to find what makes Verso Verso. And it was also hard because at first I couldn't help myself. I was Team Gustave, right? And I see this guy. I have to be this guy, and I know very early on that Verso could have saved Gustave. And I told you, I was like, "Well, that's hard because
Yeah.
I'm supposed to be that guy that could have saved the other guy,
Yeah.
and I'm supposed not to judge him." So, and I remember the very first scene. It's not the one when he comes at the camp. It's the one right after when Maëlle kind of breaks down,
Right.
and Verso says something like, he tells them that they have to go towards the monolith or something like this. It was just a very simple line, and I think it took me to learn. It was very easy, but when I was on set, Guillaume really, like, it was the first time that Verso was talking, and I was Verso. Um, I think we spent 30 minutes on just that line because Guillaume was like, that's not Verso. Again, we need to find Verso would say it in a different way. Again, again, again. And I remember I was apologizing to my colleagues, the other actors, like, I'm sorry, I'm trying to find him. And we did it again and again and again. Same, the way I was walking, I was looking at them, like and at some point it worked, and we're like, all right, we found him. Now you're Verso, and Gustave was, and also for me, Gustave was gone, and yeah, and the main difference I think between Gustave and Verso, for Gustave, I was okay with not knowing what would happen, because Gustave, he doesn't know anything about what's going to happen, right?
Right.
He embarks on that journey. He's part of the expedition, and he does everything he can with what he knows. And but Verso, I had to sit down with Guillaume and ask him a lot of questions because, like I said earlier, it's all about what Verso doesn't say. And he has a plan. He knows exactly why he's here. And so I had to know all these answers. I had to understand everything about the story, the paintress, Renoir, Maëlle, Alicia. It had to be very clear in my mind. So when I was talking to them, all this had to live within me, right? And that was really hard because the story is very complex, as you know. And even for us, like after 6 or 7 months, there are still areas of the plot we're like, wait, but
Yeah.
who's what? Okay, I'm lost.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been lost with this game. After where I am right now, obviously we get to know like, oh yeah, Verso knew everything and he has to keep it hidden, most of it.
Exactly.
He only says few things, but he needs to make sure that the team moves in the direction that Renoir, the real Renoir, wants it. Like, and he wants it as well, where he wants to save his, well, not his, but still mom. And like, so he needs to make sure that the team moves in that direction and doesn't have to tell everything. So he has that look where he's all the time kind of sad in a way, and it kind of, he's going through that. And so
and
there's
very
so
sexy
much.
too.
Of course.
That's not me. That's them. I told him, why did you make him so sexy? And then you had Ben Starr voicing him. Come on. It doesn't get better than that.
It just doesn't get better than that. It's just so cool to see Ben Starr having voice. I think obviously you guys have met as well in the studio.
Yes.
And so
Yes.
how was that feeling, like you're listening or maybe even meeting him just in general, like, okay, he's doing Verso. And then when maybe if you get to listen to what he has done, like what was your whole kind of experience like that?
Well, I first met him when like I told you, I'm directing the BTS of the game. So
Right.
when they were shooting the recordings of the voice actors, we went there to, I think it was for 1 or 2 days, and on our first day, Ben Starr is there, and they say that on the internet, but it's true. He has the aura, and it was so funny because the first time he saw me, I was like, oh, I know that voice, I know that walk. And he recognized me by the way I was walking and talking, because he had seen all the cutscenes. You know, before they started, they watched the work we did, and so, and even for me, like, to discover what he did with Verso, because, you know, like I said, I did my part, I did everything I could with that character, and then it was his turn to give him the only thing that he can bring to the character to make him Verso, right? And it's such a collaborative effort, and it feels so good to see Verso. He doesn't look like me, but he walks like me. It's my facial expressions, and he doesn't sound like me either. So it's pretty, I don't know. It's at first it's disturbing because you're like, is it me? It's not me. That's Ben Starr. It's not really Ben Starr. It's a mix of everything. And his voice is amazing. And I think he really brought to Verso something very, very very deep, very. It's funny because at first I didn't imagine a Verso that could sound like this because I didn't know who would voice him.
Right.
But when I heard Ben Starr and what he did with the character, it was obvious. I was like, well, yeah, that's him. That's Verso.
Yeah. Wow.
And yeah, Ben Starr, he has been very, very a true gentleman, very classy because since the beginning, as mocap actors, the light is often put on the voice actors, and a lot of mocap actors stay in the shadow. And Ben Starr has been so vocal since the beginning about the work we did, and it really means a lot for us because we, since the beginning, with the Estelle Darnaud, Charles Dopfner, Johanna Bro, and Alex Martin, we were all the actors doing the mocap. We gave everything to this character. We spent 1 year with them, and it was hard to let them go because when you spend so much time with those characters, you have to accept that now they're gonna exist on their own, and other people will also embody them and give them their emotions and everything, and to see that they don't forget that, and he gives us that credit. It felt so good, and I can't thank him enough.
One of the things, obviously, that you played Gustave, you play Verso. They never met. What would have happened if they did meet?
I kept on asking myself that question. I think. Have you seen the last Guardians of the Galaxy?
Yeah.
The
Yes.
the third one, and I don't know if you remember when Thor
Ah.
embarks on the ship, and there is this scene with Star-Lord and Thor, and
Mhm.
Star-Lord says, "Well, I'm the captain of the ship," and Thor's like, "Yes, you are."
Yeah.
"Oh, yeah, but I am." "Yes, you are." And I'm not saying that what would have happened, but I don't know how. I think it was really funny, and I like to think, like I said, for me, but that's just my personal opinion, right? It doesn't involve anybody at Central, but knowing that Verso could have saved Gustave, I don't see them being in the same room because I feel like if Gustave is there, Maël cannot uh, remember and get back to Alicia because she's so Gustave is a father figure for her. It makes sense on a Verso standpoint to get rid of Gustave, or at least let him die, in order to then get close to Maël, be there, and show her, the way, right? Because yeah. So I don't know, man. I don't know. I'd like to see them being friends, but I don't think that would be possible.
Yeah.
I also
It's,
like that line when Esquie says, "Oh, the nicest one died," or something like that. When Verso is like,
mm,
"Oh, you find a new group of human," it's like, "Yeah,
yeah.
but the nicest one died." But yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, that's a good question. I need to think about that. But
And I want to know, what have you, like, you've given so much to them, obviously. With SK, you've given voice, and with Verso and Gustav, different ways of playing it. And which means that these characters have learned some things from you. Is there anything that you've learned from each of these characters?
I also played a little bit of Renoir in Act 3.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
but because that's something
Another.
else I could learn from him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, well, what I take from this whole experience with Esquie being Esquie is the way you cannot change anything that happens to you. And I think that it's something that I try to apply in my own life. Like, you cannot change the circumstances. Whatever happens to you happens to you. There's nothing you can do about it. But the only thing you can do about it is how you choose to react to it. And I feel like Esquier, regarding everything that happens, he always chooses to stay positive, to stay nice and caring and loving. I remember that scene right after Gustave's gone, and Maël is crying, and actually I would say that's the most powerful part of Esquier, and that's the only part I didn't voice because he doesn't say anything, but he just arrives and he opens his arms, and
What a scene. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I feel like that's something I would try to take from Esquier is that even in the darkest hour, you still can find that spark, that positive thing, right? And you can choose the way you look at things.
Yeah.
Um, so that would be Esquier. Gustave, yeah, like I told you, what I love about Gustave is, and I kind of feel the same way with my career and acting, is that for years, all the signals, all the signs were like, you're not going to make it. It's not going to happen. No, no, stop it. And you keep on moving forward because you have that dream, and there's nothing you can do about it. It's strong. It's bigger than me. And I feel like that's why I also connected with Gustave, because he has a goal and he's willing to give everything up to reach that goal, to make a difference, to break the cycle. The last line he says is for those who come after, right? And he's willing to pay the price of his life for that idea.
Yeah.
And well, I don't say I would die for my dream, but
Yeah.
I sacrificed so many things, and yeah, that's the thing that I really connect with Gustave. And Verso is so complex, man.
Yeah.
So hard to, right? Because
Yeah.
there's so many things going on.
Well,
Huh. I'll get back to you on that one.
yeah. It is hard. Like there's a lot going on with him.
Well, oh yeah, maybe I could be, because at the end of the day, he makes the hard choice. He's gonna do what's right, even though it's the worst case scenario, and it implies a lot of people dying, disappearing, and I kind of that's how I also connected with him. I was like, okay, I might not agree on everything he does and the things he doesn't say and stuff, but the day I understood what he really wanted to do, I was like, okay, I get it. You might not agree with it, but I get it. I understand. And I think for us as actors, we don't always have to agree with what our characters do, because obviously sometimes you got to play horrible characters or characters that do horrible things, but you need to understand why they do what they do and emotionally connect with that. And I think that was how I could then play Verso. And it was funny because like I said, Estelle and Charlotte, when I was playing with them as Gustave, we had a really cool relationship. And when I started to be Verso, I remember Estelle, for some reason, I didn't know why, at some point, even after we said cut, she was annoyed with me. And I was like, are you okay? Yes, I am, but I don't know why. And we were so close to our characters. When she was playing Lune and I was playing Verso, she was like, ugh, they're so annoying, you
Yeah.
know? And that would stay. Sometimes they're like, okay, well, but it's Maxence now. It's not Verso. I'm your friend.
Yeah.
It was like, I know, but I can't help it.
Yeah, I can totally understand because Lune is like sometimes more frustrated with a lot of the
Yeah.
times. Frustrated with
A
Verso
lot
so
of
many
times, even with Gustave.
Even with even with Gustave, yeah. Oh, yeah, I just love that. I think even that I remember that moment of Gustave and Lune when they come to camp. I love that scene of how they go back and forth. It's a wonderful
Fuck the
scene.
mission.
Fuck the mission. And she says, if, when, not if. And like that whole conversation, it feels more natural and doesn't feel like, oh, like just a dialogue. It feels more natural. Like that's how, yeah, that's what she would say. And that's how it's going to go between these two people. I love that scene. That is such a beautiful scene. And that hooks me in even more like, oh, I love this Lune. She's so cool. And she's convincing the Gustave to get back into this side of things. It's such a lovely connection between those two.
Yeah,
Love
it
that.
was our audition scene, that one.
Wow. Okay.
And yeah, I love when you say, what are we going to do? Huh? We're going to take down the painters, the two of us, my gun and your sparks. And the way also Guillaume let us jump onto each other's lines, because most of the time in video games, it's rare that you would hear people talking over each other. And it felt so natural because Gustave feels something, and she does, and you can't help being like, yeah, but like you would have in an argument, right? And yeah, that at first that scene was supposed to be a bit different. It was we shot it on the very first day, and we reshot it on the very last day, and it became that fuck the mission. And but this not if when that was there from the beginning, and it was such a powerful moment, Lune's moment. It was, yeah.
I know I'm gonna ask like one impossible question, but do you have a scene that you remember the most, like of all the things that you've done? Any scene that you remember the most, like it was a fun to shoot or whatever it is that you really liked that particular scene?
Well, I think it's the one we talked about. Obviously, the whole Lumiere, the saying goodbye to Sophie. I think it will stay with me for a very long time. Also, that scene with Lune, when one falls, we continue, also was so powerful. But I think there's one. It's the which ending did you choose, by the way?
I got the good ending.
Okay,
I got the good
Verso's
ending.
one.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so for that ending, at the time we didn't know anything about the ending, and
Okay.
at the end of one session, Guillaume tells us, Estelle and me, she says, well, Maxence, you're going to be Renoir, and Estelle, you're going to be Aline. I'm not going to tell you exactly what's going on, but you just know that there is something in front of you, and I don't remember if he told us what it was. But he says, well, you just come and you love each other. You're like a couple that been away for so long, and you just take your hands and you take her in your arms, and you look at the floor, and that's it. Let's just try that. But I remember he didn't give us so many information, not too many informations, and we did that. And I remember, and we just did it without really knowing what we were doing. And Maëlle, Charlotte was playing Maëlle, and she was standing on the side as well. And I remember Guillaume tearing up and started to feel very emotional. And with Estelle, we're like, all right, what's going on here? Because we're not saying anything.
Yeah.
And that was very special because after we learned that it was the epilogue of the game, Renoir and Aline in front of Verso's tomb, and it's seeing how it affected Guillaume and how that scene was important to him. It kind of it made it special for us as well,
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. That's such a powerful scene. So many
Yeah.
scenes. That's just everything is powerful in the scene.
Oh,
Like,
and Magic Verso was very fun to shoot.
oh,
The one where
yeah.
because
Yeah.
trust me, you don't want to know how we did that scene in
Oh
mocap.
my. Okay. Okay. Why do you say that?
And now I feel like I have to tell you.
Exactly. Like now you say that you have to tell me. Of course.
Well, because he's split in half, right?
Yeah.
And so I had to put a piece of paper on my belly with a fake face for the other actresses to look at my.
Oh no.
And I was running around. I don't know. And yeah, it was just we didn't know what we were doing. We were just laughing and like we were trying things. It's
Yeah.
hard because and then I had to the other part where I'm on the floor.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was very fun. It was really
Oh.
fun.
Well, there's some fan questions that people want to ask, and these are some fun
Okay.
ones. So, first one comes from Peralt. They ask, "Do you prefer we or woo?"
We.
We.
Always.
Always. Jard asks, "How do you become a mocap artist, and how did you find yourself doing mocap?"
That was actually my first experience as a motion capture and performance capture actor. At first, I was just an actor, and I'm still an actor, and mostly working in short films, small roles for French movies as well. And it's Estelle, actually, my fellow actress on the game, the one that plays all the female characters. She sent me one day an Instagram post. Actually, it's still, if you go in the Senful Instagram, it's still there. She just sent me a link of a post from that company called Senful. They have 2 followers. It's written in English, and they're looking for English-speaking actors based in Paris for a solo narrative video game, something like that. And I think the audition was 2 days later. And my friend instead, she's like, "Well, I send my profile. Maybe it's too late. I'm sorry, I didn't think of you earlier, but it might not be too late. Too late." So I send them an email in English. It took me an hour to write the perfect, in the perfect English email, and they answered like 30 minutes later in French. They're like, "Oh yeah, okay. Could you here are the scenes, 15 pages. Can you learn them? Send us a self tape, and also come to the audition in 2 days." And I was like, "Well, do I have to make the self tape and come to the audition? Isn't it easier if I come to the audition?" "No, we would like to also see the self tape." So I I learned the 15 pages. They wanted to see me for the 3 characters, Verso, Gustave, and Renoir. And I arrived there. I auditioned for the 3 roles. And there was it was something special because they showed us a clip of what the game looked like at the time. And I remember thinking, because I had never done video games acting before, but I play. I'm a big player, and I was like, oh, it's a dream I didn't know I had. Like, because when you play a video game, you're the hero of the story, but this time
Yeah.
I could be that guy for real. And I started feeling, okay, I got to be part of this, really. And so I did the audition, and I think it was 3 weeks later, I received an email saying we would love to have you as Gustave, and that's how the thing
Wow.
started. So, like, to answer the question, when you're an actor, you can do voice acting, motion capture. At the end of the day, or stage, theater, whatever. At the end of the day, you're an actor, and your job is to portray and body to be certain characters. And it doesn't. I don't think it really matters. It's all different techniques, but it's the same. At the end of the day, it's just you and your emotions. And thanks to Expedition 33, I got to be part of other projects as a motion capture actor as well.
Wow. Okay.
So that's it's cool, man.
That's amazing. That's so cool that like you get to be a part of this game. Now you can get to be part of more games coming in the coming future and all. It's amazing. I would love to see more. Next comes from Mr. Ice Teas. They ask, what was the funniest thing you did or saw during this journey?
Uh, we had a thing where Gustave always throws
Yeah.
rocks, right? And obviously, when we did the mocap, we had it was paper that we would just put like this and throw. And for whatever reason, Sarah, she was the one in charge of the production of the motion capture set, and we kept on throwing it to her, and she would take the paper on her face, and we but like you said, like it's paper, and we just throw it like this. You don't know where it's gonna land, and it happened multiple times that it would land on her face, and we would everybody would see it, but it was serious scenes, and we were trying to keep a straight face. And so yeah, it was kind of a recurring joke. I mean, honestly, the when we talk about fun, the game is there are some really heavy scenes, but this whole process has been such a joy. We were in a safe place. The trust we had with Charlotte and Estelle, we spent so much time together. We became friends. Now we see each other on a weekly basis. So it allowed us, even though we were shooting some really deep and heavy scenes, to always have the right word, the right gesture, to always be there to comfort each other. So I mean, I would say the funniest part, the most fun part of this whole thing was the journey itself.
Yeah. Yeah, must be. Yeah, that's so cool. It's amazing to see so many things that you must have experienced. It's wonderful. Um, It's okay. Fruitkind Eldurian asks, are there any lines that you had trouble getting through?
Hmm.
I think it could be
Uh,
any character, Esquie or Verso
yeah.
or Gustave anyway.
Yeah, that's the one I told you earlier. The first Verso's line, that
Ah,
line, that
right.
specific line, but it was not the line itself. It was we had to find the whole character in one line. So yeah, I think that's the one. Yeah, but it's so sad that I don't remember the exact line. After the interview, I can try to look it
Oh
up
yeah,
and send it to you if you
for
want to.
sure.
Yeah.
Definitely. That's not an issue. Man, Final Summer asks how Gustav would have handled all the uncovering of the story if he had survived Act 1. I know.
That's hard. That's hard. I I don't think he would have let Verso do it. I mean, and you said it. He would have fought,
Yeah.
but then again, they meet the Paintress early on in the game. I think it's still Act 2, right? When they
Yeah.
defeat the Paintress. So since that was his goal, when this is done, when this is over, then what?
Mm. Right.
Um, yeah, I don't know because yeah, I really don't know. I also it was devastating for me when they come back to Lumiere. I think it's the end of Act 2, and Maya's looking at Emma, and I think she just goes. I like to think. I think there. Have you seen the Arcane, the
Yeah,
TV show?
of course.
There is this episode where I think it's the seven or eighth of the last season. It's an episode where you see what could have been.
Right. Oh,
Like it's like a different parallel, like a multiverse world
yeah.
where everyone kept on living, and sometimes I'm wondering, yeah, is there a world where they defeat the Paintress and they break the cycle and they get back to Lumiere and for whatever reason, I know it's impossible, but Sophie and all the people affected by the gommage can come back and I know it's very naive, but and yeah, him being back with Emma and but then again, this whole world is a painting. And that's also what's hard with the two ending, right? Do you choose
Yes.
to move on or do you stay in denial?
Yeah. Oh,
But then again, those people are real for us. Like
yeah.
it's so yeah, it's
It's
so
very
so
hard.
hard, man.
Cannot believe this game exists. This story exists. Yeah, it's crazy.